Good morning, guys. Welcome to Trader Talk Radio. Learn to trade light and free in the UK. Good morning, Desmond. Good morning, Swee. We are looking at a potential trade here as we kick off. I thought I'd get in a shade earlier today just to make sure if there are any issues I could combat them. Let me just show you the chart here. So it is the CAD again. I still like this CAD. I've still got a euro dollar trade short, which I'm just going to leave on the table. Morning, Susan, and leave that run. We'll see what happens. But I really like this this potential for the dollar CAD. Now, if we are going to enter this, I want to see what this bar looks like by the top of the hour. But if it does end up rejecting this this area here, I'll be quite interested to put in an entry just under this point. So I'll give you the parameters. Now, let's not dive into this because there's really no need. So we'll see if it shapes up, and if it doesn't, then I'll just I will cancel. So we're looking at. Oh my! Hold on 1 second. So make sure I can write on this screen. Should be 2. There we go. Right, so we are looking at CAD yen, and now yesterday I quite liked the CAD Swissy, and I still do, but the CAD yen looks just slightly better. And I'm looking, so it's just an idea. That's all it is at the minute, just an idea. And it is for a sell. And the price that I'm looking at is down at this low here. Looks like 79.15. Stops will be at the high. Good morning, mate. We'll stay out of the way of trouble at 79.70. Still at 79.15. With a stop loss at 79.70. Now, if the bar doesn't end up doing what I need to see here, then the order will just be, well, I'm not putting that order in, but I won't even bother putting the order in. So we've got to wait for about 4 minutes just to see what it looks like. But but if it can start to weaken here, then I will put that order. I'll place that order in the market. When it comes down to some of the other things going on, FTSE 100 still looks pretty strong at this particular stage. The global equities still look pretty strong at this stage. I don't like the way they look. I have to say that even though they do look like they are likely to go sideways or higher at this stage, there are just some question marks that I've got, and actually I'm really waiting for a short setup on the equity. So I'm looking for a short in the FTSE, but the setup just isn't there. So it suggests maybe we're either a bit early as we potentially open up and go a little bit more flat. Maybe a day early. Maybe it is today. Maybe just a few hours early. I'm not sure, but there's nothing that I can really do. Just on the potential reasons for the movement to the downside in the market, really difficult in some respects trying to ascertain that the investors. Good morning, Emmanuel. Yeah, it's really difficult to figure out investors' idea of which way the market should go given the news and data we have, because the news and data we have is tensions in South and North Korea. There's tensions on the Indian border as Chinese the Chinese army shoot down, I think, 20 soldiers from the Indian side. There is another outbreak in China, which is forcing them to ban travel in certain areas. But there's another side of it. There's a new test, which is a new UV test, which potentially completely wipes out any coronavirus that is in a certain area with very short exposure to this UV, which could really help out some airline stocks if they can get hold of it. There is also this new steroid drug from the UK, which is proving to be significantly is proving to significantly lower some of the fatalities as well. So there's good and bad things going on out there, and that would suggest that maybe the market could be just a little bit confused about the best direction, and that is possibly what we end up getting today. So I'd like to see a really good chart pattern. As I say, I'm a bit bearish on the FTSE, and just because of the way that the price action's been moving. Good morning, Helen. I'd quite like to sell it off. Now that would probably also coincide with trying to sell off this this CAD yen as well. So if the global equities are looking like a risk-off scenario, then this CAD yen will shape up to be a decent-looking trade. If they don't, then the CAD yen probably won't. So let's just have a look how we open up this morning. Yeah, market's pretty positive so far. I don't really like the way that, yes, I like the bar, but I don't like the way that price action is just above that point. So I'm just going to let this one just evolve a little bit and see if we can come back to it later on. There's no order that I'm going to put in just yet on this one, but that's the idea. So write that idea down, because it's the parameters will be pretty close to what I've got here, probably around about a 55/60 pip stop loss, and it's going to be a CAD yen sell. So work out how much that costs you if you want to get in the trade, and we can have a look later to see what's going to happen there. It's going to take these down because I need to have a look at the FTSE. So the FTSE's, it still looks pretty positive, and there's still enough confidence out there so far to suggest that we could, as I say, at least go sideways today. Yeah, at least go sideways today. So I'm not really looking for major moves in the stock market down. But when I look at this daily chart, this is where I'm getting quite interested. I guess there's no setup there, and maybe we're waiting a day or so. But it looks to me like there's a little trend line along here that has been broken down, and we might well be under. So does it struggle at this particular point? And if it does it give us some sort of reversal bar here? Probably getting under that weekly pivot would be the best spot. So under 6,200, I think we can start to look for shorts in the FTSE. But for right now, it looks just a little bit quiet, and probably for that reason, just a little bit tricky to trade. So I will sit on the sidelines with that one for now, and see what we get later on. A lot of floating around. Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm okay. I thought lightning struck me or something. I just got excommunicated again.
Oh, how did that happen?
I don't know. I was just about to say hello, and bam! I got this weird noise in my ear, and lost everything.
Oh, okay. Well, you're back now, mate. You're back now. That's the main thing.
Yeah, I've got 14 microphones plugged in because it was saying my microphone wasn't working, so I don't know what microphone I'm on at the moment.
Okay, okay, no worries. Do you want
to get? As long as you can hear me, okay?
Yeah, we can hear you fine, mate. You want to get to the pound trade? I've got a few ideas that we're going to try and follow today in the markets, and
sure.
One of them is the CAD yen, maybe even the CAD Swiss as well. But I'm looking to short the CAD.
Roger D. You'll have to empower me, mate.
No problem at all. No problem at all.
It was a very tight range when I last looked, so we may even be in this.
Oh, okay. Let's change that to me. Jeff needs to be made a co-host, and there you go.
Oakley dokley. Now I've lost the pound. There it is. Oh no, we're not in it. Right. Okay. I did predetermine the levels. Let's see if they're still the same. No. Okay. Let me change all those levels. So the entry level for the buy will be at 126.01. So 1.2601. And the stop loss, of course, Kumo, I did message you if you've Skype if you're in the room. That's why I haven't got the EA up here. Stop loss for the long is 1.2538 as I have it there. Okay, so that's all good. That's not as I have it there. Yes, it is. 2601, 2538. So 2538, the only thing I've got to change here is the stop loss for the short. And that becomes 1.2601. Rightio-ho. Now, for those of you who are in the room for the first time, I just briefly go through this every day just in case you don't know what we're doing. We're trading an OCO here, which is one cancels the other, and we're trading the breakout of the last 3 1-hour bars prior to London Open. And today those bars are this one, and this one. So the low of the 3 is the low here, which is at 1.25485. We round that down to 1.2548, and then we take 10 pips off it, and that becomes our entry, 1.2538. Our stop loss, we find the high, and that in this case is 1.25845. Round that up to 1.2585, and add 15 pips to that one. Why have I got 2601? I'm not going to change that. Sometimes mistakes are good, so it's 1 pip difference. Should be 1.2600, but we'll leave it there. All right, once we are triggered, and I actually haven't set these trades, so I'll do that very quickly. The buy stop is at 1.2601. And the stop loss is at 1.2538. And vice versa for the sell. Did you say you are short the CAD, mate? Is that so you long dollar CAD? Is that what you're saying?
No, not yet, mate. I'm looking to short the CAD against the Swissy or the yen.
Oh, the Swiss, right. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't have an entry as yet.
So you're predicting risk off today?
Well, this is the slight difficulty I have. I do have a I guess a bit of a picture which would suggest that we are going to get some risk off, but I don't see it so far happening in this session. So I am probably more likely to sit on the sidelines. It's pretty quiet out there, to be honest. I don't know what will necessarily drive it. So I don't think we are going to get risk off, mate. But I can't be sure. You know, it could just sort of all of a sudden turn. But I'm not seeing any signs and signals that that anybody is particularly committed one way or the other at this stage.
Yeah, I'm not either. It's anybody's game at the moment. By the look of it, it's a bit like a limp tug of war.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to answer the question, which is from Roy, take profit for the OCO trade. There is no set take profit. What we do is once we're triggered, if we're triggered long into the trade, which by the look of this IG, we'll hope we aren't, because that would be a terrible entry. We don't add any filters to this, by the way. It's simply a breakout trade, and there's no way I would be trading here. I can assure you, wouldn't be going along this because of those 2 pivots sitting there. But anyway, we're not filtering it. We just see how it goes. So what we do is once we get triggered, if we're triggered into the long, we cancel the short and we switch immediately to a 15-minute chart and we trail the stop from there. So let me show you how that works. and go through yesterday's trade. Now, yesterday's trade was about here somewhere. Right, that was the bar. So the last three bars, 1, 2, 3, were the bars that we traded. How come we didn't win the truckload yesterday? Wow. This is yesterday, yeah. All right, let me see. So we had an entry 10 pips below this bar, and we had an entry long 15 pips above this one. So that was the one that got triggered. Wow, we might have been dead unlucky yesterday. That was the one that got triggered. This is not how I remember yesterday, by the way. I thought we were short, but anyway, that's how much I know. Oh, I'm only the one who does it. 25, 25, so 25, 40-ish would have been the entry. Am I right here, guys, or am I going nuts? We've already got that line. We don't need that. 25, 40 is about... Get there. For goodness sake. Let's say there. So our entry was there on that level, on that cross. So then as soon as we get entered, we switch to a 15-minute bar chart, or chart, whatever suits you. And there we go. So we got triggered here on this bar. That's why we didn't make a mozza. Okay, now it all makes sense. And as soon as we do, we trail 2 buy bars. And by that, what I mean is as soon as we get 2 consecutive buyer bars, so in this case, 2 white bars, might be green, might be OHLC bars that you're using. As soon as we get 2 of them consecutively, we trail the stop. So there's the first of the 2 right here. So our stop, which was way down here, we trail up to this level underneath the first of the 2 bars. Then we got another 2 bars, so we move it up to here. Then we got another 2 bars, so we move it up to here. And then we got another 2 bars, so we move it up to here. And we survive that pullback. Another 2 buyer bars, we move it up to here. Another 2 there, we move it to there. Did that work? I don't know if that worked. I can't remember. I do not remember. I know in my record, I've got about 2 or 3 pips of, maybe 5 pips of positive. I don't know how that bar was formed because I can't remember that far back, but that's what you do. You trail your first 2 bars. Sorry, the first of your 2 bars that are positive. Obviously, if you're going the other way, negative, and you put your stop loss under there. So I don't know what happened with that bar there. Can't quite recall, but I wouldn't have moved it, obviously, unless that was a white bar. So it's obviously formed. Then we moved it to there. That's right. And then got stopped out with that one. So that's where we got taken out, guys, in a very, very small profit area. All right. So hopefully that makes sense to you all. If it doesn't, then we'll help you out.
The yen's looking good, mate, but I just can't get the entry.
The yen's looking good?
CAD Swissy for a short looks really good, but I just can't quite get the entry. It's kind of like it's moving already, which is okay.
We'll go back to you. I haven't got any trades till the half hour anyway, so let's go.
Yeah, let's have a look here because it looks okay here. Make sure I've got that up as well. I'd quite like to see it weaker again. Maybe you know, it's either going to be the CAD yen or the CAD Swiss, but the CAD Swiss looks really good. You know, it's just starting to show some signs of weakness here, bouncing off that weekly pivot. I really like, you know, so I like the area, I like the level. What I'd quite like to wait for, because of the daily pivot, is really a break and a retest of the daily pivot. But I won't use a longer term time frame here. I'll use a short term time frame. i.e. this 5-minute chart. So if the 5-minute chart comes down and breaks below and then gives me an entry to the low side here, then I'll move my stops to just above the weekly pivot, and I will enter this one short. When it comes down to the CAD yen, somebody's asking why not take it at the top of the triangle up here, which is valid. You know, it's really valid. I guess what I'd quite like to do is compare the Swiss to the yen, and the Swiss is actually, well, so far this morning it looks okay, doesn't it? Might even be a little higher low there. If the Swissy gets through this particular area, then that's going to look pretty good for the Swissy. So we should probably be trying to trade the strongest currency that we have available to us against the CAD. So I will be looking at so I'm going to switch to CAD. I think CAD Swiss. It's either CAD Swiss or it's either CAD Swiss or CAD yen that I'd like to trade, and I'd like to trade them both. You know, either one short. I think the issue with the CAD yen is that this is a higher low here and a higher high, so it is trending to the upside. If we switch to the CAD Swissy, even though it's the same, if we get a break under the daily pivot, that might start to suggest that the trend is over. If we assume that this is really the area of support, and it could be, you know, it might be down here. That might be the structure we're looking for. But if we can get in somewhere around here, 30. It's not going to quite give us a 1-to-1. I mean, I'd aim for the monthly pivot, but I'm just looking to see whether this can just break down here, and if it does, then I'm going to trade the CAD Swiss on a short. But you know, I'm not too worried which one it is, but this one doesn't look like it's turning around here. But I do completely accept your point. I think that's a really valid setup, you know, to look for the top end of the triangle. And in some respects, it might even be better to look for the top end of the triangle rather than waiting for a break to the downside. Let me just see what we got here.
It's interesting. The market's gone absolutely nowhere since the weave at the top of your resistance trend line, which is a perfect bar off the weekly pivot for me. It's interesting. The market's gone absolutely nowhere since then.
This one here.
No, if you go up to the weekly pivot.
Oh, the weekly pivot. Sorry, mate. Yep.
Beautiful bar that for me.
This one to trade short. Yeah. I mean, it did break down a bit. I mean, you would have made profit on it because you know, it comes down to you would have got out there.
Something out there.
Yeah. That looks okay, doesn't it? CAD Swiss. It looks pretty good. I do like this. So I'm just waiting for this 5-minute chart just to give me a decent setup, and I'll trade this. Happy to trade this one short. Not giving it. Do you know, I never like it really when the market just does that, or whatever market I'm trading just does that. It's just not very clean. You know, what I might well do is trade this here. Now, will that give me something? I might do that actually. So if I put in at 0.7017, I might put an order in here because what that will give me is that with a neckline along there. So we could be looking at that if it can pop up to this level, so somewhere along this trend line, and then we can look for the short. So I might look for this one. I think you know, yesterday we got kind of some people putting an order in the market when really there wasn't one available. So so at this stage, I think we'll wait on it, but I'm going to implore everybody to kind of keep their eye on this and just tell me if it gets up to 0.718 or anywhere in that area. Let's have a look at it during this session. I've got a bit of an issue with how the session's going right now, but it needs to pop up really right now, and the reason is that that's just too bearish for this particular phase of the move. So I can't just get in down here, even though this is just a 5-minute chart, and you're effectively trading the break of the hourly, which is completely fine. I wouldn't mind just seeing just a little bit of retracement over a short period of time, just to get me into this this particular trade. But I like this, so I'm going to watch the CAD Swiss. I will watch out for the CAD Yen as well. Maybe I'll use this one more as a barometer. I think getting in at this this higher triangle is completely valid, because you do get a decent price up here with a stop. So you got a 40 pip stop there, which leads you down to the trend line for profit. So that is completely valid as well. So I suppose choose your poison on that one. If I miss the CAD Swiss, then I'll probably switch to the CAD Yen rather than the other way around. So I'll keep my eye on it, mate. And if there's a setup that we can take, then I will let everybody know. But for right now, my idea is for a CAD Swiss short. Now let's just have a quick look at what could be driving things.
Well, mate, while you're looking for that, I'll just say g'day to everyone. G'day, Desmond. How are you? Great to have you on board. Hi, Sweet. Hi, Susan. Emmanuel, how you doing? Good morning, Helen. G'day, Dennis. Sino. Good to have all you guys on board, as always, of course. And Roy, we've said hello to Juan, and everyone else who's in the room whose name I haven't mentioned yet. Kumar, of course, and Alan. How are we all doing?
Kumar, are you kidding me? Kumar is in.
Kumar's in.
Kumar, you must be exhausted. You must be absolutely exhausted. Kumar was up till must have been like 6 in the morning this morning. I suppose. Hold on a minute. I'm doing it on UK zones, aren't I? So it's 6 in the morning there, and then I'm thinking 8 in the morning when you had 2 hours sleep. But you must still be tired. Okay.
Oh, that's right. You had a late session, didn't you? Well, not late for you, but late for those guys.
Well, early for those guys. I was
early, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, but Kumar was up till a minimum of 6, maybe 6:30 in the morning while we were sort of chatting last night. So, yeah. Right. Let's have a look. Oh, nice trade on the pound yen, Jeff. Apparently.
Last night, yeah, we put that one in. Still running, actually.
Well done, mate. Well done. Okay. It's looking pretty quiet out there. So, any trades that we take, we're really jostling for a bit of position rather than kind of getting any clear signals. Now, this CAD yen is looking better, isn't it? The reason that this is quite good is that it'd be quite good to see the yen, the CAD weaken against some of these risk-on currencies. So let's just see what we've got. So 130, we've got CPI. Actually, there's quite a lot of data from Canada today, which is potentially why we are seeing people just take the position of a possible sell. Let's have a look from the UK side. So CPI year on year, not really moving. Now we need to pay attention to this because of gold. If we're going to be looking at gold for long positions, then what we're really after is gold showing some CPI starting to creep up a bit, and that's not really happening. Core CPI year on year 1.2% in the UK as well. I mean, the numbers are poor, but not absolutely dismal. Yeah, there's not a great deal of anything there, which is suggesting that we should be buying any protection. So let's have a look. So a few numbers out of Canada, which could be a little bit of jostling. We got this later on, and I wonder why. I wonder whether that just kind of puts us in a bit of a hiatus today as well. We got more from the Ched. In fact, let's just see what he's due to talk about today, because he did testify yesterday. Seminal semi-annual monetary policy report before the House. Okay, well that could be of interest.
Just a different committee, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if he's due to say anything different. And then back to the Aussie as well. Unemployment change and employment change. Any kind of idea on what that will be, mate? Looks like it's going to be a slight improvement. Unemployment rate higher, employment change still bad, but they're looking for.
I haven't heard anybody talking about it, mate. I haven't heard the punters. They haven't really said whether they think that that's an accurate figure or whether it's not. Last one I thought was just incredibly under what it should have been, which was 6.2. If they're only forecasting 6.9, I still think that's a pretty wonderful figure, to be fair.
Yeah.
And
yes, it is.
If anything under 10%, I reckon it's amazing.
I agree with you, mate. And actually, that Australia's been pretty good, hasn't it? When it comes down to handling quite a lot of this, their data points aren't too bad at all, and it's not like we haven't been up to these levels before. Back in 2015, we did see a high unemployment rate in Australia, and now we are creeping up to those levels again. Obviously, it was in a lot better shape, but a creep down in this unemployment rate might start promoting some buying in the Australian dollar again.
I would think so, yeah.
So the Swissy does have the policy rate as well, with a press conference, could be of interest. Then we have the UK. So quite a lot actually from some of the central banks this week.
So Shukri, is that right? That's official, is it? We've now said we're not allowing anybody into 2021.
Wow.
Into Australia. Well,
wow.
I guess that's 6.5 months away. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it really is and difficult, really, because of that. The headlines like that to really get a grip on how investors feel. That I think some of the issue is the time of year that we're in as well. For traders, they will, or investors will, tend to take a bit of time out during this period, so markets can just die down a little bit. So we might get some quieter price action, but it might not be the case this year. It might be one of those things that accounts have been so obliterated and funds have been so harmed by what's been going on that investors and people around their desks and companies are told to stick with it and see if they can recover some of the money. I don't know. So could be a different type of year for the movement in price this year.
Dennis,
yes,
you're
they
back
did.
At work, mate. Okay. July 1.
Yeah, you're right, Helen. They did. They handled it a lot better, certainly than the UK did. The UK handled it really badly, I thought, or I think that things are changing to a degree, but we're certainly trying to get back to work anyway. Okay, so the CAD Swiss has just managed to possibly start to give us a turnaround, and the reason I say that is that we have this 5-minute bar, which is suggesting we could get just a bit of upside. So I'm going to keep an eye on this one, mate. It's got to go in one direction or the other. The question is, from here, do people buy into sell off the CAD because of potentially bad data and buy into the Swissy because of a sticking with policy rate or a better statement. I don't know. It might kind of make this one a little bit trickier, and it might mean that waiting for that to be released could be a better pathway. I don't know. So we'll have a look at it. Maybe if the technical pattern shapes up, then we could still take it.
If oil breaks this high, that might be interesting as well. That's getting a bit of a move on today so far, anyway.
Let's have a look at that. Well, if that's the case, I think I'll avoid trading the CAD. Yeah, that is going in a fairly decent direction right now, isn't it? Looks fairly positive. Yeah, that looks all right, doesn't it? Looking at that 4-hour bar is a bit of a setup long as well. So I think I'll avoid the CAD. I think I'll sit tight on it. I think some of those setups look pretty good, but I think I'll sit tight on it. The FTSE 100 looks like an okay entry for some upside. That 4-hour is some of the issue here. It looks like we're constantly kind of trading into resistance points at this stage, and I've got my questions about the market right now. Let me just double check that level. It looks like there's some room there actually. Difficult to know exactly where that line is, but it looks like there's some room on the stock market. So, short-term trades could be looking at a long FTSE. CAD Swiss, very tempted to take, but I'm just a bit concerned about that that oil situation and some other aspects. But that is pushing into the area I'd quite like to trade it. Okay, mate, I'm going to sit tight for right now and see if I can make some decisions later on. I guess we got 30-minute candles.
We do. We will have a look around the place, and I'll update you guys on the trades I think you are in, that you should be in anyway if you were in the shows. So let's do that. All right, so primarily I'm only going to skip through the majors. If you want me to look at something else, I'm happy to do that also. I'm going to start with the trades that you guys are probably in, and euro yen and pound yen would certainly be two of them. Maybe not this. No, I don't think I took pound yen in this room. I may not have. I'm sick to death of euro yen, I've got to tell you. I placed this order way back here, and we've been in, we've been down, we've been up, we've been down, we've been up. I'm really just very, very tempted to close it and wait for another setup, to be honest. I think it's just a crazy, stupid thing. It's not doing anything. What's my entry? 121.
You know, mate, I am going to take this Swissy. I'm going to take it on. I'm going to take it on. So just to share screen again here. I'm going to take this CAD Swiss here. I'm going to sell it off, and I am going to put my stops at the high up here. Nowhere near enough on that, so I need to probably add in one. Let's do that and do that. There we go. So I can split my trade up a little bit. So it's a you know, not a whole bunch of risk here, but you can see that the entry's there. So I've got my stops here at just above the weekly pivot, which is, let me just double check that area actually. I'm just going to move it above this high. I'm going to move those stops above that high up there. That looks a lot better. So it's a 25 pip stop loss, let's call it. My stops are at 0.704, which I'll write up for you here. So it's CAD Swiss on a short, and the entry is going to be 0.7015 with a stop loss 0.704. I just quite like the big picture here, so I just had another look at it, and I do quite like it. So I'm taking that on. So there you go. There's the parameters on that, and we can possibly manage it. You know, if things don't quite work out, but I quite like where it is.
Right, bud. Happy days. We'll come back to me.
Come back to you, mate. Yeah, sorry to grab it there, but that weekly pivot looked like a pretty good bounce point there.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do with this euro yen thing, right? I'm going to move my stops to entry, and if I get taken out, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'd rather be out of this than sitting in it for 3 weeks and not getting anything out of it. So stops to entry there on that one. Again, if I get taken out, I don't give a toss. We'll find something else to do with this. It may well go back to resistance if we do, and there we may find another entry. So up to you what you want to do. If you want to stay in, then happy days. If not, then the obvious thing to do is get out of it. So that's exactly what I've done. Well, I'm not out of it yet, but I suspect looking at that bar, it won't be too long before I am. Now, pound yen, Also coming back at our entry, but we should be free trading this, guys. The instructions were to take 50% off at your first profit level, which I've done. And I actually cheated on this. I removed my first take profit when I saw this bar forming, and I let it run down. I took 45 pips of first take profit. So I've got my stops 45 pips from entry at this point in time and free trading. Would love to see the daily pivot send this back to the short side. Now, that said, I did say at the time, this was potentially going to be a higher low based on this pattern here. And we went through, actually, we had a really good session last night in the US session. We spoke a lot about the sentiment cycle. And if this is the sentiment cycle in action, then this is an aversion point, pretty much where we are right now. So this could well take off to the high side. I'm hoping that won't be the case, and we do get a daily pivot rejection here, and we drive to new lows. But if that's not the case, I can definitely see this as being a long at some stage. Would I trade it now? No, I don't really have the right situation there on that candle. On this one, I do, on the 4-hour chart. And I've only just come in front of the chart, so I haven't seen that bar till right now. This is the first time I've looked at it. That would have been interesting for me. That would have been very interesting for me. It's a bar I do like, and coming off that little double bottom. If you look at this chart, which is a bigger picture, right? It's not the wall of worry. This is not the sentiment cycle. It's not part of the sentiment cycle that I would be looking at. Yeah, but I can make an argument either way, can't I? Well, we did the right thing in trading it short because I could see that this is the potential area where we were going. But I'm just not convinced at the moment which way we are headed, and happy to be free trading. As I say, if we get the bounce off the daily pivot, happy days. All right, so they're the two that you should be in. I placed another order this morning. I'll share with you guys. It's Euro Swissy, and I'm on the short side of Euro Swissy, but only if we get taken below this bar here. So I'm actually trading short underneath that bar. If you want to follow that one, the entry is at 1.0689. And I've got my stop loss above this little consolidation period here, or area here. So at 107.31. I think that's right. My maths are correct. 42 pips above entry anyway. And I'm going to take profit 1 at 14 pips, and I'll close 1/3 of the position at that level. And the reason is it's DS1. It's also a support level. And I'm going to take profit 2 just above the monthly pivot here, which is something that I always do. And I'll remove another 1/3, and then I'll just let the rest rip. Hopefully we get down to the 105s. And that, of course, is the plan. So that's Euro Swissy short. What else? No, that's about it. That's about all I'm in at the moment on this account anyway. All right. Sometimes it's just hard to remember where you are and what you've got. I'm going to have a look at the 30-minute charts now, and this is the euro dollar. Mic soft, ash loud. Let me change the microphones. Just give me 2 seconds, and I'll change the microphones, because that's what I thought had happened. My control panel should allow me to do that. Microphone. How now, brown cow? Is that any better? That's a different microphone, so it should be better. If not, let me know and I will try and fix it again. But that should be a different microphone, should be better. Righto, what have we got? Euro dollar. Yeah, look, euro dollar would be very, very keen to trade this short off a weekly pivot bounce. That would, in effect, give us this scenario. So to my mind, we are in a moo. We are in the grips of a, well, potential head and shoulders here. But and Ash traded this yesterday. It looks as clean as a whistle. It really does look as clean as a whistle. So another lower high here really does get me interested, and we'll see what happens here. If we get a test of the day, weekly pivot, and then pulls back, maybe closes underneath the daily, that'd be super cool. And I would then enter a short on euro dollar. That would probably mean I'll be out of euro yen at that point, and oh God, sick of it. So sick of euro yen. That's the plan anyway. On the 30-minute chart, can we trade that any other way? Yeah, hell yeah. But we've got to have a trade line, and really I don't see one. I can see one up here, but I don't see one that's going to get us into this trade. Maybe this one. But we've got a lot of work to do for price to get up to here and then give me the false break that I'd be looking for off that trade line. But, you know, that's the thing. It may not be a bounce off the weekly pivot per se. It may be a break of resistance, which is what I'm always looking for, as you know, then back underneath, then retest the whole shooting match at this confluence area. You guys are going to have to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning again if you want to take that, if that's the way it sets up. But still keen on a lower high here on the hourly chart or even the 30-minute chart. Dollar yen, I'm also sick to death of this. I've got to be absolutely frank with you. I've traded this on my personal account. I haven't shared it with you because I think it's just it's not my own trade. So I haven't only called my own trades. I wouldn't know what to do with this, frankly. The only thing I see here is if it does break down out of this consolidation area, there is a pretty clear false break here. So resistance broken, consolidation back underneath, retest, not only the trend line, but the monthly pivot, throw in the daily pivot as well if you want. So there is a potential for an entry here underneath that bar, if you were so inclined. Where do you put your stop is the question. Do you put it above the weekly pivot? Probably. And if that were to be the case, and that's why I haven't taken, this is why I haven't taken the trade, because your risk then becomes, say, 140 pips. Your first reward is about it's not that dusty, 47 pips. I didn't think it was that good. Anything that's a third or better than the risk, I'm happy to take on, because that's where I take my first profit at, a third or better. It's not that dusty if you're that way inclined. I'm sick of being in dollar yen. I'm sick of being in euro yen. So I'm not going to take that trade, but I totally see that it does have credentials. And of course, I am still biased long the US dollar. I haven't had a look at the dollar index recently. I'll probably do that. Aussie dollar's a bit tough as well. We spoke about the prospects of the Aussie dollar and, you know, all of these things. And if the unemployment rate is as good as they're predicting, I think that's going to bode well for an Aussie rally, another Aussie rally. 97 at the moment, Dennis. Yeah, cheers. So I've still got this in the back of my mind that China is applying lots of pressure to the Australian government in particular, which therefore goes to the Australian economy. Let me list what they've done already, the Chinese to Australia, in terms of trade. They put bans on 4 of our major abattoirs, so meat exports or imports in terms of China. They have also put an 80% tariff on barley, which is obviously substantial and virtually cuts out that market. Yes, I know that we found barley markets in India, and I think the beef has also found a market. So that's probably been offset to a large degree. And I think that's what I said at the time. I don't think that would be too much or too consequential to the Australian economy and indeed the Australian dollar. They've also, the Chinese government, put out I'm not sure whether it's a mandate, whether it's a warning, or whether it's advice to Chinese students not to enroll in courses in Australian universities. That's a massive market for Australia, the Chinese student market. So that's kind of interesting as well. They're just picking off what I call the low-hanging fruit and saying, okay, here's a little bit of an issue for you. Here's another little bit of an issue for you, and here's another little bit of an issue for you. I guess if they keep picking that fruit, then it's going to add up to something quite substantial. But my not fear, well, maybe it is a fear. My main concern is if they go to the next level and start putting tariffs on iron ore and coal, and I've said this many, many times. As soon as they do that, the Aussie will disappear off the chart very, very quickly. It won't be in the 60s; it'll be in the 50s somewhere. So that's why I'm keen to be in the market short the Aussie, net short the Aussie on just about anything really, but certainly against the US dollar. And in particular at the moment. So I'm really trying to find a way into this short. I can see my three little Indians sitting here. They're telling me that this is going short. This market's going short. I've got a lower high sitting here. Dreadful candle to trade on a 4-hour chart. Maybe it's there on a daily. Yeah, you've got a spinning top, which is, absolutely symmetrical, incredible. They know when you want to get in. It's quite interesting. You could gamble, and just say, okay, I'm going to trade that bar no matter what, and put your entry here, your stop loss here. And I've been inclined to do that in the past myself, but I'm hopeful that I'll get what I'm looking for. And this candle looks to be a prime candidate. If it were to pull back now in the next, hour and 15, or is that, I think that's when we're on 4-hour candles at the moment, then maybe close below the daily pivot, or even it closed on the daily pivot, I think I'd be inclined to place an order short under that. Obvious place to take first profit is here. And then the second obvious place to take second profit is here. And then we can slide it down to the low 60s into the 63 area, 64 area. I think that'd be quite okay. So that is kind of my take on the Aussie. It's very, very difficult to then measure that up against the technical scenario, which if you look at the 30-minute chart right now, well, actually it's not difficult on this chart, looks quite good. This would suit me greatly if we were to just get above this trade line, then come back below it and retest it. Bang, I'm in straight away. The question mark, of course, is the Aussie has been so strong. Is it wise to trade against it? And do I have a real reason to trade against it? Well, yeah, of course I do. There's the big double top sitting there and potentially a lower high. So yeah, why not? And it's overbought, or has been overbought, not currently, but yeah, I think there's a far bigger one ahead. A few comments on that Aussie uni thing. Yeah, I guess so, because, and I'll get to those in just a tick. In fact, I'll get to them now, but I'll very, very clearly be looking for this to go short, and the 30-minute chart may well just be the ticket if we can find that false break, and certainly the 4-hour chart on that lower high. That actor, Jeff, is RS, that actor. They will proceed with the death sentence. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. From the news today. Well, that was on the time. Yeah, look, he's in trouble, Dennis. There's no question about that. That's flagged as a barb, I guess, at the Australian government. I don't think that's valid, frankly. If he's done what he's done, then he has to pay the price, and it seems to be the ultimate price. Many Aussie uni in deep trouble. Yes, that's true, PL. Blue Healers. Okay, I never watched Blue Healers, so that's probably why I don't know him. He said they don't buy iron ore from one. Gordon saves Kimberley, eh? Saves Kimberley's, eh? They don't buy iron ore from one Gordon. One Gordon. One Gordon. I don't know one Gordon. The show's crap. Yeah, I believe that's probably the case. Most of the kids in Aussie uni are children and grandchildren of CCP, cutting nose off to spite face. Yeah, look, that's it's an issue. And
your charts are oh no, that's better. Sorry, they were looking a bit blurry, but they're back now. I think it was my end.
Symmetrical triangle here. Yeah, it does. Sure, it does. There you go. Doesn't, whether it's symmetrical or otherwise, it doesn't really mean anything to me except that it is a bounce or a break point. So I'll be looking for that to be a false break and come back short. If we were to come here and come back inside, I'd look for a false break long. Gold, I'll get asked to talk about gold. Don't know. Oh, John Gordon owns Kimberley Mines. Okay, there you go. Yes, that would be interesting indeed, Helen. I only know what's his name. What do they call him? Twiggy, something like that. Twiggy, the main man, or what I call the main man. And of course, I know people who work over there. H4 bullish on Aussie. Yeah, it's kind of in a trap here. I don't see a clear direction intraday here right now. Really don't. But I'm still playing the three little Indians sitting up here and the lower high. If we get another lower high, I'm into it. Twiggy, yeah, Twiggy. Can't remember his real name. And I think I've caught up. Euro Swiss level, if you can tell, from Sanjay. Euro Swiss. Haven't I got a trade on that? I think I do. Oh, the level. That's what you mean, right? Okay. The entry level for Euro Swissy is at 1.0689. And the stop loss is 42 pips above that. And TP1's at 14, close the third. TP2's at 49, that pips, of course. Close the third as well. And just let the rest rip, and we'll trail that if we're fortunate enough to get into those positions. Righto, I'm spending a lot of time here doing absolutely nothing except talking. I hope that talk isn't full of nothingness. This chart is quite interesting also. It's dollar CAD. Interesting because we're just unable to move from the weekly pivot. Just keeps hacking at it, even from last week. Bang, bang, bang. It's like Skippy. And doesn't want to leave this area for some reason. Does that mean it won't? No, of course not. There's a theory that goes the more an area is tested, the more it's likely to break. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I also would agree with the more it hits that area, the more likely it is to bounce as well. So I don't think there's a definitive way to say the more times it's hit, the more likely it is to break. What I would say is look out when it does come here, because there's likely to be a trade upcoming. I don't see anything there on that chart for me because I don't have a trade line anywhere near price. Oh, yes, I do. Didn't see that little low there. So that changes things for me straight away. Very, very tough to jump into this market short at the moment, I've got to say. You're at a support level straight away, a double support level, a confluence area, and you've got a reasonable support level underneath you as well. So very, very tough to get in. I'm tempted, I've got to say. And the reason I am is because that's a genuine slingshot setup. But no, too risky. I'm not trading into that. And it can go to hell and back as far as I'm concerned. It'll go without me. Maybe if it breaks here, then pulls back. Different story, but at the moment I don't want to take it on. Dollar Swissy has made a bit of a statement there. What chart am I on? 30-minute. Yeah. It again makes it tough because I've got a bias long for the dollar, only for a little bit further, but I do. And I think we should be in a risk off scenario, which means I'm bullish to Swissy as well. So yeah, very, very tough. And I don't see a real reason to do anything here. I can see that we've come down. We haven't even really hit a decent support level, which is frustrating. That level there, yeah, it's not that defined as far as I'm concerned. So this may well have a little bit further to go, and that makes it tough to trade a false break, which is not a false break for me. I don't trade the bottom of a channel as a trading line. So no, I'm going to stay out of dollar Swissy for now. Kiwi, yeah, similar to the Aussie, of course, and no surprise there. We've got a very, very strong buying season almost going into the middle of June, or the beginning of June rather, and since then we've pulled back, been unable to crack it above the weekly pivot again. This is the daily chart I'm looking at, and you could be forgiven for thinking this could go either way, and maybe even that's an OCO. I'm not going there. I'd be favoring this to continue to go short and maybe come back inside our channel. If it were to do that and then retest this confluence area, I'd be looking to trade that short, taking profit at the monthly pivot, and maybe looking to trade it right down to the bottom of that channel. That channel, of course, is on the weekly chart. So that's kind of where I'm at, but no conviction in it at all. I don't have any real reason apart from the slight bullish attitude I've got on the dollar to say that this is going short, to be fair. One thing I would be keen on is Aussie Kiwi short, because of what I've just said about the Aussie, basically. Now, Euro pounds, I was actually keen this morning to find a short on Euro pound, but only because we've come back inside the range. And this does look like a false break sitting here for me. And I'm not going to enter here, but I think a lower high here is going to get me interested. So let's go to the 30-minute chart and see what's available. Well, we do have a little trend line or trade line coming through here. So that could kind of interest me. I did see earlier, however, when I had a look at the hourly chart, that there was this bar here was forming. And I thought if it closed down here, it had a good case to go long. You can see by the ensuing bar that it can't make up its mind, the market that is. So I'll make up its mind for it. If it gets up to here, closes on the high or anywhere above that trade line, if you like, then consolidates a little bit, comes back underneath, then retests, I'll definitely be looking for short. This bar is interesting. I'm not sure what the market is actually saying at the moment, or why it's saying it, if there's any news, but that looks like a bit of a reaction to something. I don't know what. If it were to be a high test bar, 24 pips into 13, that's not too dusty. And then probably got 2-to-1 down the set. You get a 1-to-1 result out of that. I'm not sure why the market's moving like it is, though. I'd want an answer to that before I look to trade this. But that's interesting, that bar there right now. What have we got? 2 minutes left. I'll come back to it in just a tick. That's all I've got anyway. I've run out of the majors. 2, 4, 6. I've missed one, have I? Pound. Boy, only the pound. Who worries about that? Okay, if I was trading the pound today and not thinking about a breakout, I've got to be thinking short. And the reason I've got to be thinking short is not because of that bar, but I do like that bar, not to trade, but as an indicator. I like the fact not that it's a bearish bar, but that it's failed to close above the weekly pivot. And the break of last week's weekly pivot and the retest of this week's weekly pivot in concert with last week's weekly pivot by this bar tells me that we're on track to get down to the monthly pivot at least. And that kind of makes a false break of the top of, if the, yeah, well, I'll put the range in so you can understand what I'm saying. So we do have an established range here, and you could probably use those lows. You could use that low there and that low there as well. I'll be happy with that one, I think. So this is smelling of a false break of the top of that range as well. So I actually don't mind that. I didn't see that this morning. Don't know why. I wasn't looking at the chart properly, I guess. I can see why somebody would want to trade that bar. That bar is not the bar I want to trade. That bar is the bar I want to trade. So if you gave me a white body here, I'd be happy to take that short now, but it's not a white body. I've got to wait for one. So 4-hour chart, maybe smaller time frame later in the day. Yeah, I'd be happy with that. Daily pivot test, high test bar with a white body sitting there, and I'd be okay. That's why I don't want this breakout trade anywhere near that area. Yeah, it's going to be a battle. Terrible entry level right there for the breakout trade, which hasn't, of course, triggered at this point. We are at the top of the hour, Ash, and I'm just having a quick squeeze to refresh my memory. I can't trade that long, no way. Dollar yen, I think I've given up on. We're probably out of euro yen at the moment by now. Aussie 30-minute chart. That's really shaping up well on that 4-hour, the Aussie short for me. Yeah, I'd like it to get outside here, as you know. Dollar CAD looks like it's a slingshot setup short, but it's full of risk and I'm not going to take it. Dollar Swiss I didn't want to know about. Kiwi, yeah, no entry there either. And Euro Pound, that bar turned out to be a shocker. Was there news, Ash?
I think there must have been, but I didn't hear it. So I'm not sure what that was. I've just looked at the euro versus the dollar, and that's also done something quite similar. So something must have happened. There's nothing really kind of being expressed in the FTSE. So if it was news, then it looks like it might have been maybe euro specific. I will just double check if there's any significant headline here.
Okay, I'll answer Chandru while I'm doing that. I can't short it, mate. No, not on that bar. That bar is a seller bar to me, and I don't sell seller bars. It's pretty much that simple. I only buy seller bars. Can I trade it a little bit later? Sure. But I don't see an entry there for me right now. I would have to see, I can't even trade a double cross, maybe on a 30-minute chart. No, I don't even like that. Here's what I'd have to see to trade it short.
It's a tricky one, isn't it, mate? It is a bit of a tricky market at this particular stage. There's no question about that.
Yeah, the thing I'd like about tricky markets is eventually they come to a point and show you. And
yes,
and I used to use the euphemism that the market is whispering to me, and unless it's shouting at me, I have to ignore it.
Yeah. Interesting what you've drawn that trend line. Is there a case to be made to go through the low of that bar that you've the close of that bar that you've gone through the low
of the previous bar?
Yes. So the
not
middle
for me,
middle. No.
As I said, I can't trade a seller bar short. Just don't do it.
No, sorry, not that one. The one back. So the little hammer there. So where you've got the low on the hammer.
Here.
Yes. Is there
No, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I've got to see 3 touches before I'll trade it, and I'd like to see 2 of those. I've really got 2 long tail candles there, so that would suit me. I'll trade this if this is a buyer bar.
Yeah.
So in particular, if it were to come back to the daily pivot, then I'd put my entry underneath the current bar, stop loss above the weekly pivot.
Yeah.
That would work for me. But there'd be a caveat on that also. I would have to take profit here because I won't trade through the low of the day without taking profit. So it's going to be tight, very tight. So I'd have a 30 odd pip risk and I'd just be able to squeeze a third out of that. So it'd be, I'd do it. Yeah, absolutely. So if this is a decisive buyer bar, probably 2 ways to attack it. You could trade the bar itself with half your position, or you could trade the entry and the safer route with another half of the position. So in other words, have 2 different stop losses.
Gotcha.
High risk this one, reasonably safe that one, I would have thought. So I will trade it, Chandru, but it has to give me what I want to see, and it's got to be a buyer bar and a decisive one at that. CAD Swiss for you, Ash. Did you short that on the 1 hour chart?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. We are short CAD Swiss 0.7015 with a stop loss at 0.7040.
Pound CAD OCO getting close. Okay, we placed that. When did we place that? Monday. Oh, it is getting close. Yeah. Okay. Those of you not aware of that one, there it is there. We're buying at 172.05. We're selling at 169.70, and we are 5 pips from an entry on that one short. Obviously, it is OCO. As soon as the short gets entered, the long gets cancelled, and we start looking for some profit. So there you go. That's me. I'm done for this session, I think.
Yeah, tricky day's price action from what I can see, and it might be that we are just on a bit of a hiatus. As I say, the FTSE just looked like it was going to be going sideways or up, and it's kind of doing a bit of both in a way. It's just popped up, but it's in a bit of a range here. So I think we just wait for a clearer picture with these charts. And
Europeans talking to me again.
What is?
Europeans talking to me again.
What's it saying?
It's saying, okay, I'll give you a chance. I'm going to bounce off the daily pivot.
Okay.
But it's only whispering. It's not shouting. So we're still in that one. Pound yen, how's that traveling? Pound yen, yeah, same kind of thing, isn't it? We're going nowhere, mate. The market's telling us that it's in pause mode, I think. Not sure why.
Yes, it is. Yeah. It could be the Fed. Could be trying to absorb all this data as well. So there could be a few things going on out there.
Yep. I'm happy to wait. Doesn't bother me.
Yeah, me too, mate. Me too. Got the trades on, so quite happy with that. And we'll see what happens from here.
Righto. I'll catch you in 4 hours and 51.5 minutes.
Sounds good, buddy. Sounds good. Have a nice afternoon. So everybody else, we'll see you tomorrow. Same trade time, same trade channel. See you then at 5 to 8.
Hang on.
Oh.
Got a question.
Yep.
Does my rule of buy only seller bars and sell only buyer bars apply for all strategy? Only the slingshot? Oh, only the slingshot, definitely. That's my thing. That's nobody else's thing. In fact, I would say it'd be quite the reverse for most strategies that we trade in ATW. They're looking for seller bars to sell and looking for buyer bars to buy. That's a date. Don't be late.
See you guys.
Hooroo.